Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I'm a lifetime Florida State Seminole fan, and I am coming to you with an instant reaction as it has been reported and mostly confirmed that Mike Norvell will be the next head coach at Florida State University. This is coming from several different sources. As soon as the AAC title game ended, Norvell didn't confirm this either. I can say, though, we're probably about 95% sure this is going to be announced tomorrow, Sunday, at a press conference at Florida State. So we're going to go with the assumption that this is correct, and I think Florida State fans should be excited. So let's backtrack a little bit to talk about all the candidates that came through as rumors. There was the biggest one of Bob Stoops. This would have been obviously the best hire Florida State could have made. This would have been an A or maybe even an A+ hire, and probably got pretty close to this being something Bob Stoops would have considered. However, didn't go through in the end. There was also James Franklin talked about, and that would have been, I think, in my opinion, an A- hire. He's clearly has success at Penn State and Vanderbilt, but he got a contract extension from Penn State, so that's not happening. Matt Campbell would have been a good one. I would have given Matt Campbell a B or B+. Great success at Iowa State and turnaround a program. He got an extension through Iowa State, so he's not coming either. The reason I'm saying the extensions mean that they're not coming is because Florida State probably just doesn't have the funds to buy those contracts out anymore. Brian Kelly of Notre Dame would have been an interesting one. I don't think he would have really fit the culture at FSU at all. And you know what you would have got with him, 10-2 every season and losing big games. So I would have given that hire probably a B-. And then Mike Norvell, who will end up being the head coach of the Noles. And I think this is a B hire, if I'm giving it a grade. This is a guy who has ties to the kind of the Big 12 area and a little bit of the quote-unquote Bible Belt. If I can't, that's what I grew up calling it. That's like Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, Louisiana, that kind of area. So no ties to Florida. That would be a little bit of a concern, I guess, hiring him. But see no reason why that can't be figured out or why recruiting can't pick up eventually. It's probably how he staffs his team, I would imagine. He does have the Achilles heel at UCF. Until today, he was not able to squeak out a conference title. However, he did exercise that demon and beat a ranked Cincinnati to do so. So I think that speaks volumes. 0-4, by the way, against UCF. Other than that, great success. And we're not the place to go over into like technical numbers, but I do know that SP Plus shows that his offense continues to improve. His special team, surprisingly, very good numbers as well. And defense continues to get better, and he actually hired some good staff to make that happen. So, yes, I think Florida State fans should be happy. This was a month in the making, from rumors all over the place. We didn't know who to believe or when to believe it. So I think we can pretty much step forward with near certainty that Mike Norvell will be announced for the head coach tomorrow. So I think this is a good hire for Florida State for a lot of reasons. He's the most important things people are going to point out. He's 38 years old. He's had success. He played a wide receiver in college, come to find out, and he hires a lot of good assistants who then in turn get hired to other schools because he has such great increase in productivity. So what does this mean for Florida State? I heard the announcement details of like a 6-year kind of contract. Florida State has a interim athletic director and an interim president. This was probably something every candidate had to consider at some point, and you would have to give the incoming coach a pretty big deal. Willie Taggart got 4 years coming in, 3 of which were guaranteed. So you had to probably up the ante a little bit here. We don't want there to be any concern, and that's something they probably had to talk about in great detail about what the plans of the future were. And yeah, I think Mike Norvell, from what I've seen, he's probably not known by the entire fan base. He's a coach in the AAC, which is still a pretty good conference, but probably not as much name cachet as you would like. I would think a lot of fans are going to have to be explained, his kind of route to success, which is fine because he maintained a good Memphis program after Justin Fuente brought them to success, and Justin Fuente is now at Virginia Tech. I'll be curious to see if I look over, do a little more research, how many NFL draft picks Norvell has produced. Off the top of my head, I know it's probably running backs. I think Tony Pollard from last season. This year, Kenneth Gainwell, if I don't know what year he is, their running back who went like 1,500 yards or something crazy, who certainly gets some attention. And then Coxie, the wide receiver. His quarterbacks are, I guess, serviceable. I don't really know, but I'll have to check on that later. This is very much intended to be an instant reaction, so I'm trying to get some details in and try to get a good overall concept of who Mike Norvell is. And I think there's a lot of upside here. He's very stable. From what I've seen in press conferences and interviews, he's not a very loud-spoken guy. I have no idea what his demeanor like at Florida State. I don't know about the culture fit. I also don't want this to be a hire where he doesn't really know a lot about the university. That would certainly be a first for the Noles. You know, does he know the mascot? Does he know the school song? Does he know the area? Does he, know where to get pizza in Tallahassee? Things like that. These all kind of factor in. What's his family situation like? Who and when will he be hiring on his staff? A lot of times when a new head coach comes in like this, they bring in top to bottom, all 10 assistants. And I have a hard time envisioning that not being the case here. Odo Haggins is the biggest question. Odo Haggins was the one lone assistant that was kept after Willie Taggart came in and Jimbo Fisher left. And I'm not so sure that happens this time. Maybe he decides to retire. Maybe he does stay on as, been a great fit for a defensive line coach. Maybe a recruiting coordinator. I don't know. Maybe an analyst. We have already heard that there are some unconfirmed reports. Jim Leavitt has left Florida State. I'm not sure if that story mixed up, and it's talking about how his status as a analyst was converted to full-time, or he actually has gone. So I tend to believe that means he's left Florida State. And that also means that there's a good chance he goes down to South Florida. He was a head coach there before, and South Florida's already talking to Willie Taggart about hiring him back as their head coach, which I personally think is a great decision. But all of that is unconfirmed as well, so we'll wait for full confirmation before we give full opinion on that. Side note here as well, Florida Atlantic wins big in the Conference USA title game, and Lane Kiffin takes the head coaching position at Ole Miss. So he was now gone. I kind of think Kendall Briles, who used to be the offensive coordinator at FAU 2 seasons ago, would really be a good fit in that school. Conference USA is a pretty bad conference. He has a high-tempoed offense that's already proven to work there. They won 11 games 2 years ago en route to the conference title. And he hasn't stayed at any school more than one season lately. He did a lot of recruiting today. But from what I can tell, Mike Norvell calls his own plays and kind of has his own offensive guy. So I don't know how that would work with Kendall Briles if he were to stay. Now, I like Kendall Briles. I was not a fan of the decision to hire him because of his controversy at Baylor. But I think it ended up being okay as far as I can tell. I just don't know if it's going to fit with the new staff coming in, or if the president AD want him to stay, or what his contract looks like, anything like that. But this is all going to be very interesting to see. South Florida, Florida State, FAU all hiring a coach. And yeah, it's kind of exciting time. I think the Noles should be excited. There's a lot. Everybody's going to point to the offense and the running attack that Memphis has when Mike Norvell was there, but I think the delta of change, the improvement that they made in every area of their game, that is really what we should focus on here. So Chris and I will have a full episode planned later this week. We will break down a little bit better the FAU win. We'll talk about the more details after the press conference to introduce Mike Norvell, how that went, and we'll give you some updates on the South Florida head coaching search, as well as our reaction to all the bowl matchups, because those are coming out tomorrow. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. This is Brandon saying Go Noles.